Now the second question, we have GPA for 30 SAOE students. Now the GPA is a continuous quantitative variable. It has decimals. For continuous quantitative variables, we do not draw a bar for every number because you would have too many bars, and with too many bars you really cannot see the pattern of distribution. What you do is to create intervals or classes. This column gives us the starting point and end point of different intervals. Then we calculate, we tally the frequency for different intervals by placing all these different numbers into different intervals. We end up to see for each interval how many times it occurs, or what is the interval, what is the class frequency. For example, for the first number is 1.5, following the first class, following the first class. Okay, so we have one class following the first interval, and for the next number 2.6, which following this interval, and for this interval we have one case. Next one is 1.4, which come back to this interval. We have two cases for that interval. Now next one 2.0, which following this interval. So we just keep doing this until we tallied all numbers. Then we end up having this frequency distribution for different classes like this. That next one, we calculate the relative frequency for different intervals or different classes. Again, we use frequency divided by the total frequency times 100, and this is obviously it's 10% here, 10% here, 10% here. 7 divided by 30 is 0.233 times 100. You have 23. You do this to all intervals, to all classes, and eventually you end up having the relative frequency for each classes. The next one, you calculate cumulative frequency in the same way that we did in the first question. For the first class, it's just frequency through itself. For the second interval is a combination of the first two classes. For the third class is a combination of all three class frequencies, and for the next categories is the combination of all the previous categories plus the frequency for this category itself. So it's 9 plus 7 is 16. So you just keep doing this. For next category is 16 plus 7 is 23. So you keep doing this for all classes. Eventually you end up having this column cumulative frequency. Finally, we calculate the cumulative relative frequency. A very simple way to do it is simply use cumulative frequency divided by the total frequency here. Okay, and just here. Okay, and here for the first class, 3 divided by 30 is just 10% itself. 10% itself. And for the next class, 6 divided by 30 is simply 20%. And 9 divided by 30 is 30%. 16 divided by 30 is 0.53 times 100. You have 53%. And 23 divided by 30, you have 77, and 0.77 times 100, you have 77%. And you keep doing this until you do it to all the categories. So eventually we have this table filled up. Now again, we need to create a chart that show the relative frequency distribution. Now, again, you can just manually draw a chart of frequency distribution, but also you can copy this data set into the Excel, and you use Excel to generate this good-looking, neat graph. Okay. Now so we need relative frequency. So we need to highlight this column of relative frequency, and go to Insert, this bar chart, the bar chart here. Now sometimes Excel has some problems. It does not recognize the numbers that you copy it into the field. And what you can do here is start over again. But before you do it again, you just retype in all the numbers. So it's 10, 10, 10, 23, 23, 13, 7, 4. These are, you have to make sure that all these numbers actually enter into the spreadsheet. Now you try to do it again. Highlight this relative frequency column, go to this bar chart. Now you see all bars are all here. Now you go to, again, right click to go to select data. There on this little window, the right hand side, and you go to edit, and you highlight this column that has all the interval, the starting and end point, and highlight that column, and you hit OK. You see all the numbers appear here, and also appear on the horizontal axis. Then you need to label this chart. What do you call it? You can see GPA distribution. Okay. Then we also need to give this horizontal axis and the vertical axis a label. We go to Add Chart Elements, and the horizontal axis, you can call it GPA. Call it GPA. Okay. Then the vertical axis, you can simply call it again the percent. Okay, percent, because this is relative frequency distribution. Okay. Now you can copy this bar chart to the field. In your case, when you're going to turn in the homework, you are going to copy this bar chart into the Word file. Now, we're not done yet. Okay. You can first do some basic processing, change the font size, adjust the position of different labels, try to make sure that the all kind of balanced and not too crowded in some parts, and but too empty in other parts of the graph, to make sure that it all looks balanced. Okay, and this is one way to do it. Okay, then most importantly, we know that GPA is a continuous quantitative variable. It comes decimals, and therefore for this kind of a distribution, all the bar charts, and for all bar charts, they should be adjacent to each other. Why? Look at this. The first category, the first class, it runs from 1.35 through 1.54. Next interval comes right after this. So the starting point 1.55 right after 1.54. So between 1.54 and 1.55, there should not be space. So they should be adjacent to each other. Therefore, we need to make sure that all these bar charts for continuous quantitative variables, all these bars, between them, there'll be no space. And this is a major difference between the bar charts for a continuous quantitative variable and a bar chart for a categorical variable. For continuous quantitative variable, this kind of bar chart, it has a special name. It's called histogram. It's called a histogram. So histogram is kind of particular kind of bar chart for continuous quantitative variables. So we want to make sure that for a histogram, the bars are all adjacent to each other. Now, how do you do that? You hit the bar, right-click, format data series. Now you can really see here, the gap width, how wide the gap between bars should be. Put it at 0. Put it at 0. It's like this. Okay. Now, also you want to make sure the outline is clear. Okay. So now outline here. Okay, we can see format series. We do need to have outline here. The outline is dark here. Okay, now here we have outline here. Obviously, you can also change the color. Let's see what color. This color look like nice looking color. So this is a bar chart or histogram for a continuous quantitative variable. Okay. Now you can really see the pattern of distribution. You can see a clear, with a very low distribution toward both ends, but you have more cases toward the middle, and that's exactly why we want to draw a bar chart to get a sense of a pattern of the distribution for GPA. In this case, you can really get a sense of most people have this kind of average GPA distribution, few at the low end and very few at the higher end. So we really get a sense of a pattern of distribution. Okay, I hope this helps. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.